galaxy's darkest moments, some voices are unforgettable. A Sith Lord consumed by revenge, a relentless general driven by power, a mysterious advisor hiding dark secrets, and a droid with a quirky charm. These legendary characters have defined a universe. The voices that shape these unforgettable characters, Sam Witwer and Matthew Wood.
What you all didn't hear before during the applause was Sam going, "Oh shit, we're on?" And running up the stairs. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming to talk to us today.
I see the VIP section is still.
That's
we're
right.
waiting for the other people to come into the front row.
You know, it's weird. We were talking about this pretty much all day. Like the front 2 or 3 rows, nobody wants to sit there.
It's like school.
I don't
You don't
know
want to be.
why. Yeah, it's like, is the teacher going to call
These-
on you?
these
You want to
folks
come
are
sit up front?
fine.
Yeah, I think we should.
Come sit up front, guys. Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
be with us.
Yeah.
Be with us.
I'll take the heat if the boss comes in and he's like, "Why are there
Yeah,
people
this
in
is
the
so much
Yeah, there
better.
we go.
Oh, there we are. We can see your faces
Let
now.
us gaze upon you. Let us look upon your faces.
It's so beautiful.
Let us gaze upon the faces of our accusers. Our witnesses against us.
You know, Whitward and Wood sounds like a law firm. Attorneys at law.
Would were.
We and we have made many arguments jointly, and I think we lost every case. Isn't that right?
Ooh. Well, there's your record.
Stick to acting.
Man, let's get right into it, guys. Gosh, you're a part of the Star Wars franchise. How in the world does that feel?
Terrible.
Oh. Well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
See you guys later. Thanks for coming.
Now, it's got to be an amazing feeling, right? Just, I mean, obviously, the Star Wars franchise is just so steeped in not just, you know, longevity and history, but it's a part of Americana, and you're both a part of that. And, I mean, that has to be an amazing feeling.
It's terrific. He's been doing it for how many years now?
34.
34. See, I've only been doing it for 15 or 16. He's been doing it for 34. Is it still good, or do you hate it?
I love it. No, I love it. I do. I grew up with it. We both grew up with it. I'm sure we all here grew up with it. So to be part of something like that it opens a lot of doors socially, and from a business perspective, artistically. It's just a wonderful thing to be part of, and I'm sure we both feel very humbled to be part of that.
Hugely.
So yes. It's a wonderful thing to be part of.
It's like my favorite thing ever. So the fact that I get to keep messing around with it is ridiculous. It's bizarre. And also in LA and in Hollywood and stuff like that, because you've been working with Skywalker for now forever. You're the guru over there of all sound and voice stuff and all of that. And also Star Wars guru. This guy has extraordinary knowledge. But for me, as just an actor, I thought Force Unleashed was going to be it. I'm like, oh, I got to work in Star Wars, yes! And I had no idea that they were going to actually just kind of keep me around for like 15 years. So I feel very, very lucky. That's the only way to explain it is luck.
Well, Sam, let's talk about how you first got involved in the franchise. What was that process like? How did that fall into your lap?
Well, there was a producer, and I knew what grocery store they shopped at. So I followed him home. And
the guy that's got the shirt that says "Free Hugs" is taking a lot of notes here. In the front.
Yeah. You got to follow them home. Give them, you know, it's not about giving them free hugs. It's hugging with the rope. No, never mind. This is dumb. No,
we can edit that
Look,
out.
What it was is our buddy David Collins. They were casting for a dark side Force user. Who was going to be Darth Vader's secret apprentice. And when Amy Beth Christensen painted the character, and it was approved by Lucasfilm, it looked somewhat like me. And David, who was working at LucasArts at the time, was like, that looks like you. And I'm like, great. What does that mean? He's like, give me your headshot. And he slipped my headshot in the pile, literally snuck it into the pile. And then I got an audition, and then that was where it served me to be a Star Wars nerd in the audition. So.
There you go.
So if it wasn't for David, I'm not here. You know? And then years later, if it wasn't for David putting me here, I wouldn't have talked you into putting David at Skywalker.
Yeah. It all works in a big cycle like that. Yeah. A lot of friends and people, yeah.
Yeah, we were playing a VR game. You want to tell that story? Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we do play, we're both Star Trek fans as well. Sorry. No, it's fine. But
okay.
we would play, Bridge Crew.
Bridge Crew.
Yeah, it was called Bridge Crew with VR. But Sam was very particular about we have to do it in role play. You know, we can't break character. So Sam obviously was the captain.
That's right.
Yeah, and then a few friends from work and I would be like navigation, weapons.
You were the engineer.
I was engineering. Yeah.
Juice those phasers, engineer. How quickly can we get out of the sector? Helmsman.
So we did that, and that's how we. Is that how we met? Is that how? I can't remember how we met.
We met at some sort of Lucasfilm thing years before that.
Yeah.
So. And then we got into a lot of trouble over at Disneyland, Disney World.
Right.
And then, yeah, that was.
We got in trouble on the last flight of Star Tours before they turned it over to. It was the last flight of the original Star Tours. We got to go on in 2014 or something.
The original Captain Rex.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
That's how we met. But a lot of these things at Lucasfilm, it's kind of like in the movies. You're a ragtag group of people that are brought together to work on something, and that's how we feel like when we're working on the shows too. So most of the people I'm hiring, be it sound team members or voice actors for various projects we're working on, we get a lot of people we like and know and love, and they can wear a lot of different hats. That was one thing that George Lucas never really did for was pigeonhole you into one job. You know, I started at Lucasfilm when I was 17 years old testing video games. And then I made it through into this job, which is, the career path was just being able to work with a team and being able to like really work under pressure and sort of mitigate that pressure so it's a fun environment. And the fact that we were an independent company and it was just George making the shows and we were all making these movies and out at Skywalker Ranch, kind of isolated from everything. And
so in this episode of Clone Wars, the Mandalorian children are being fed poison, the really bad soft drinks.
Mugen tea.
Mugen tea, and it's made of. It's making the kids sick.
Oh, great! So George, this is the Separatists are poisoning the kids of Mandalore.
No, the Separatists have nothing to do with it.
So the Sith are.
No, it's just that they're not using wholesome ingredients, and so that's the story we're going to do.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that. No, it was, Clone Wars was that funny thing too, because we had just finished working on the prequels, which were really intense and fun to do, and it was every couple of years we'd make one, and then when we finished Sith, George Lucas and Rick McCallum, the producer, kind of took me aside and were like, we're going to do this animated series. I know we just finished working on Revenge of the Sith, and we're done, but we're going to do like 8 episodes of Clone Wars. They said we're going to do this. They didn't even call it Clone Wars then. It was just an animated series. We're going to do 8 episodes. George is only going to do 8. They were saying, I only have to do 8, and we're going to hand the team off to somebody else, or hand the show off to a different team, and then we're going to do, we're going to walk away from Star Wars.
You're blowing my mind right now.
No, that's what happened. And so then at the end of that, we worked on 8 episodes, and everyone loved working on it so much that we never stopped. So George Lucas worked on all 100+ episodes, myself included, all our teams, because it was just like the ultimate way to tell story. I mean, we had this great crew of people that were still involved in the prequels, and now we could just tell as many stories as we wanted. We actually did almost 2 seasons of material before we even told anybody we had made a show.
We were working over at Force Unleashed. We didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah, so we were just very quiet, and then Cartoon Network was going to run it. And like most shows with George, they were like, we'll put on whatever you make. So there was they weren't going to evaluate the show or anything. They were like, we'll just put it on. So
think about the crazy, the courage and the craziness that it takes for George Lucas to say, oh, we're making a show. Oh, great. For who? I don't know. We're making a show. Yeah. Well, where's it going to air? We'll figure it out. We're making a show.
Right.
Like, no one does that.
Yeah.
No one does that. But no one does half the things that George did. You know, where it's like, can you imagine he gives up his director's fee in exchange for merchandising rights, mostly because he wants to be able to promote this movie that he feels like no one's going to promote right. Like, he gets it, but no one else seems to get it. Have you seen the first Star Wars trailer? Do you guys remember this? It's like, don't. In space, this may all be happening right now. And you're like, not really, though. I promise you this is not happening right now, you know, as you're being like lulled to sleep, you know. But George, he gave up his director's fee, so worked for basically nothing. Made his own effects company, which is a ridiculous thing to do for a movie. Then he gets the merchandising rights and the soundtrack rights, and then basically just puts all of his bets on Star Wars being something, right? And he has the sequel rights. That's another thing he negotiates. The sequel rights. They're like, you want to have sequel rights to a movie that we are absolutely probably going to make a little bit of money on and never do the sequels? You want to give up part of your negotiating position for a sequel? Fine, take them. So can you imagine jumping forward, right? Star Wars comes out. It's the biggest thing ever. And then 20th Century Fox, all of the suits are in the room, and they're like, my God, sir, give me a high five. We did it. We made a Star Wars movie, and it was great. And I can't wait. You know what we should do? What's that, Bill? We should do the sequel. Oh, yeah. You know what I want in the sequel? What's that? I like more of those Jawas. I think we should have more Jawas in the sequel. Yeah, you know, the sand people were really scary. We should have a whole bunch of sand people. Yeah, no, we should do that. We should do that. And in the back of the room is like a really nervous-looking lawyer, junior lawyer, with like sweat pouring down his brow. Hey, Wayne, what's wrong? Listen, guys. Yeah. We're going to make a sequel. No, there's a sequel being made. And we're making it, right? No. Why? Because we gave the sequel rights are going to George. George owns Star Wars now. So he's going to do whatever he wants. Well, where's he going to get the money? He's paying for it himself. And then that's it. And then it's all George's. And then it's George, whatever George wants. I mean, that's insane. And then when The Empire Strikes Back becomes a huge hit, he takes that money and goes, I'm going to build Skywalker Ranch, and I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to fund this myself. Just took all of the money and kept funneling it back into the creative process. No one does that in Hollywood. It's always spend someone else's money. Because it's not going to work. Then the money's gone. But George always kept reinvesting. In Clone Wars, you know, we're going to make a show, but we don't even know where it's going to air. It's crazy. I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, talking about funneling the movie back, or funneling the money back into the company, that was one of the things that the creative environment at Skywalker Ranch was just unprecedented. I mean, we had this beautiful location, and it's just inspirational just to walk around the grounds there and all the history that's there. And even I started there about 5 years after it had been fully constructed, and it came into it kind of thinking that it had been there forever. It's funny, when you're younger, you think like, oh, this place has been here forever, and I have to, you know, walk on eggshells. And I had a little bit of the imposter syndrome happening. But then as time went on, I understood that we're all artists together. We've been in this beautiful place, and it was just really conducive to working. And we're still there. I mean, it's funny now. We are.
I'll be there with you guys next week.
That's right.
Doing a different project.
Yeah, it's still the properties is still owned by George Lucas, but he's our landlord now. So Disney pays rent to George for us to work there. It's
just a place that looks like a big winery, you know, and you feel like you're there alone, except the place is filled with creative people making movies and doing crazy stuff. And so there's a little short film thing that I'm doing that we're mixing up at Skywalker Ranch, because why not?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's built for. I mean, what kind of guy builds a place where he's like, no, I want creative people to come and feel comfortable and have a positive experience making movies or making TV shows? I mean, George is such a unique, incredible individual. And he came up with crazy stories like Mugen T and Spider Maul and General Grievous and all this crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, you know?
That's remarkable. Now, I have an honest-to-God question for anyone that's in the crowd, because this came up during the X-Men panel. Who here has not seen Star Wars? That guy just dropped his paper when I said that. I was like, Cardinals.
You got
It's
a lot
okay.
of nerve
It's
showing
okay.
your face around
It's
here.
Good.
It's okay, because this leads me to my next question. For someone who maybe hasn't seen Star Wars, where in the world do they start?
Oh my God.
You know, that I feel like that's been debated and will be debated until the end of time. But two experts up here, where would you recommend? Yeah, you're experts. You're here.
I mean, that's a hard one. If you start on 1 or 4,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Because
Well,
normally you would go in order, theoretically, but
Well,
yeah,
the-
it's
The other
Depends on
thing,
what-
the other thing is that people get into it even sometimes from some of the TV shows.
Yeah.
That there are all kinds of on-ramps. And I used to have a really good answer for this, which was, oh, you got to start with 4. And then I would get really confusing. I'm like, and then you go to 5. Then watch 1, 2, 3. And then watch 6. You know, there's confusing stuff. And the answer is, no, just watch it. Just pick something. You know, kind of. Just think.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Unfortunately, there's just so much now. That and I meet people now that their on ramp was totally different than mine, and they love it. And then they watched Clone Wars was the first thing they saw. So, yeah.
I saw this YouTuber, and she was watching Star Wars all in order, starting from 1, but all of it that came out, which also includes Solo and Rogue One and the Kenobi series and all this stuff. And I tuned in. The first episode I saw of her YouTube series was episode 4, the original Star Wars, the one that we used to call Star Wars, right? She's like, okay, I'm going to be watching Star Wars episode 4. And then she's watching it. I'm trying not to spoil it now. Okay, she says some stuff, really interesting stuff about Princess Leia, because in her perspective, she's already met this character. She's like, oh, who is this? Is that the little girl? That's the little girl from the Kenobi series. Oh, that's Leia. Wow, she's grown up. Wow. And I'm sitting there going, whoa. and then she's like, wait, okay, we're on the desert planet Tatooine. Isn't that where we left Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is he here? I'm like, is Obi-Wan Kenobi here on Tatooine in episode 4? I'm like sitting there, my mind is blowing. And then my brain leaked out of my ears when we get to the Mos Eisley Cantina, and there's this shot. I'm trying not to spoil too much. A shot of Obi-Wan Kenobi talking to Chewbacca, and she goes, oh, that's a Wookiee. That's Chewbacca. That's Chewbacca. Where did we last see him? Didn't he fly off in the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo? Wait, is Han Solo in this? And I'm like, what? This is amazing. So at that point, I was like, oh, there's no wrong answer to this. I used to be like, you got to start with episode 4. You must start with episode 4. But I'm watching this 20-year-old girl having the most amazing experience of watching Star Wars because she started in the beginning. My mind was blown. My mind was blown. I don't, look, start with 1 or 4. Does that say?
yeah, 1 or 4.
Episode 1 or episode 4. And it's going to go places. And you're going to be mind blown. It's going to be crazy.
There you go. Well,
Is
hey,
Han Solo in this?
what?
Yeah. kind of is a little bit.
We're going to take some questions from the audience here, because that's what we do here at these
Yeah,
panels. We take
great.
some Q&A. There is a gentleman up here in the front row. His hand went up before I even finished the word questions from the audience, or the phrase questions from the audience. So, sir, we'll start with you. Hello, what's your name?
Michael Johnson.
And Michael Johnson, where are you calling from today?
I'm coming from Camden, just about 30 minutes east
Oh,
of
cool.
here. So, question for Sam. Has there ever been any talk of a prequel series with Darth Maul before he meets Sidious?
You mean when he was working at the coffee shop and he was? Have we told that story?
We haven't talked about the coffee shop. I don't think we can.
Yeah. With Darth Maul, I've learned to never say never. There are large periods of time where we don't know where he is and what he's doing. Large periods of time, like even decades of time.
Kind of like your life.
It's like me. Yeah, like, has anyone seen Sam? Not for 10 years. I don't know. He was on some, planet. Anyway, so I would say you never say never. I think there's opportunities for that character. I don't know.
Yeah,
That- I'm saying
no
that
one's
because I'm
no
hoping-
one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really gone. Yeah,
Which one was that? What,
that was Luke in episode.
oh
8.
yeah, that was. Oh yeah, that's right.
Or was it Luke?
That was Luke.
It was Luke.
No,
It was
was
Luke.
it? Yeah, in Last Jedi. Yes.
All right, good question. In the back?
Yes,
sir.
My son here wants to know, have you ever surprised anybody with your depth of knowledge of Star Wars? And then I wanted to know if there's any project in Star Wars that you would like to be a part of in the future.
Have you ever-
very loaded questions.
Yeah. Have you ever surprised people with your?
I would say, if I'm answering about meeting Sam, you surprised me with your depth of knowledge of Star Wars, and that's one of the things. We have this little group of actors that we use in most of our movies. It's credited sometimes as additional voices in all the shows we do, and so we have this group of maybe a dozen of us that we come into each show, and we have to sort of fill in a lot of aliens and droids and stormtroopers and Imperials and all kinds of people that you'd see in the background, or PA systems or that kind of thing. And I'll bring in these 12 actors, and Sam was one of them. On the first, we did the Force Awakens, I think was the first one. And then we just have to improv Star Wars, because this is stuff that's not scripted. The director, because most of what you record on the set in a movie is a mic pointed just at the actor's mouth. So everything else is remade. My team will go and make every single sound effect and every single, all the music and all the footsteps and the clothing movement. I mean, everything, explosions, guns, all that stuff. But
when you see some aliens walking by in the corner, that isn't, you have to make
we
that.
have to sort of make all that to make the environment. So we'll have to bring in, we have to do it somewhat quickly. So I was like, who could be a cool team that I could bring in from all the different disciplines of Star Wars, from the video games and from the previous films or whatever we had access to. So Sam was one of those, and we brought him in with David Collins and there's a whole group of us. You can see us in the additional voices, but we have to improv all that. You have to be you're two Imperial officers, and you have to know the timeline, know what you'd be talking about, know the weaponry or whatever it is, and you have to sit there and talk about it for the entire scene. Even though you might only hear a teeny bit of it, it still has to be there. So that's when I was surprised by Sam's knowledge. It was like, there was nothing scripted. Sam would just come up with it immediately and improv in the world of Star Wars, which was so amazing to have. But I've definitely been surprised by Sam.
Decouple the E11 from the T15. The repulsor isn't working. We're going to get over there. That type of stuff. What's fun, though, is when we get to, we always get to be creative with it, because we're creating aliens and droids and stuff like that. And, there will be times where we get to throw Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's a whole thing in the episode 4 New Hope. There's a scene where 2 stormtroopers are walking around by the tractor beam before Obi-Wan disables it, and the guys say,
yeah, you ever hear about the T-16?
Yeah, some of the guys said that's something to see.
What was that?
And they go, what was that? Like that.
That's
so
nothing.
those 2 guys talking about the T-16s.
Yeah.
We've taken those 2 stormtroopers every time we have a show, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be David Collins and Sam on every timeline. But we changed the name of the T-16 to either be before or after in the timeline.
In episode 4, it's, did you hear about the new T-16s? Yeah, some of the other guys were telling me. It's quite a thing to see. In Rogue One, which happens just before episode 4, it's, hey, did you hear the T-15's been rendered obsolete? Oh, it's about time for that. So the T-15 is now out of phase, and they're going to use the T-16s, which are new in episode 4. Well, then we get to Force Awakens, and it's like, hey, just check out the new T-17s. Be like, oh, I hear it's great. It's not. It is a piece of crap. Well, you got to go back to the 16s. So we figured out that every other series of this T model is a piece of crap, and then every other thing is really brilliant. It's like the even an odd number of Star Trek
It's such
movies.
a ridiculous sound joke that's just gone on now in every single thing.
Every
All
Star
of them.
Wars movie since The Force Awakens, there's 2 stormtroopers talking about some version of this material and having some drama with it. And it's like their entire life is about this.
And none of the directors of the shows really know that we're doing this, which is great. Once I had to expose it to Kathy Kennedy, I think, because we were in the mix, and I was waiting to find a place, because Rogue One's a pretty serious movie. And so, and the directors were serious. It was a very serious kind of thing happening there. And so I was like, I got to get it in. I have to, where am I going to put it? And I finally found one area where those two are...
Two troopers walking on the beach before he's taking out troopers to get
Chirrut's
ready for the
taking
big
them out.
attacks. There's two on the beach.
But it was the last day I could add something, and Kathy had come for the last day of the mix to sit there, and I was like, I have to get this in here, and everyone in the room is in here, and we have to mix this in.
And by the way, my trooper says, "Oh boy," so it sticks out. Being like,
"Oh boy,
the T-15s have been rendered obsolete." Oh boy, it's about time for that. You know, like.
And she's like, "What are we?" So I noticed they're having a conversation. Kathy's having a conversation with Tony Gilroy, one of the directors, and I'm over on the console like this. But can we just put this in real quick? We get, Kathy's like, "What are we?" What's going on? Oh, it's a thing where we put a sound in every movie where there's a T-16 and
everyone's just
like, okay, sure,
fine.
But it's in there, and that's for you to enjoy.
I did it for you.
There you go. Something to enjoy. Next, yeah, applaud that. Absolutely, that's next level stuff. Absolutely next level stuff. We have a question over here. Yes, sir.
This question is for Sam.
Okay.
You've voiced a lot of characters within the Star Wars universe, quite a number. Is there any specific character that you would like to play, either voice or in a live-action movie, maybe like Darth Revan or something?
Oh, wow. The way I look at it is I've already been way, way lucky when it comes to this stuff. So whenever someone say, "Oh, who would you like to play next?" I'm like, "Are you, man? That would be like extraordinary greed," and So yeah, I kind of feel like I'll do who they ask me to voice, but I can't ask for more. That's wrong. I've already been given way too much by these folks. Because in Hollywood, what happens is you'll work on something, and they'll be like, "Man, I had such a great time working with you, man. And we're going to do this again. We're going to bring you back for something else." And you're like, "Oh, great. They're going to bring you back for something." And then it's years later, and you never hear from them again. That's usually how it happens. And then there are some people who actually will bring you back. You see them 2 years later. "Oh, we thought of you," and you occasionally work with the same people. And I have a few people that keep bringing me in every few years for something. But these guys bring in every year for multiple things, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, including weird behind-the-scenes stuff that we won't talk about for 15 years. So I should not be asking for anything more than what I already have. However, I will say this. I was very proud of EV-99. I was very proud of him. In Book of Boba Fett, he's in the kitchen. He asked about, what is that, more rats or something like that? And I remember it was EV-99. I'm like, "Oh, that's EV-99. And you're like, "Yeah, that's EV-99. Oh, it's even, okay." That was Richard Marquand. And Richard Marquand was like, "Oh, Jabba's almost ready. He's almost a star." In the documentaries about Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he voiced EV-99, correct? Yeah, I think he did. Okay. So he would have been like, "What is that? More rats? New acquisitions? You are a protocol droid, are you not?" That's probably how he did it, right?
Yeah.
And then Trey was like, "Oh, yeah, the processing was this." And he just knew it right away, what the processing for EV-99 was. And then we put together my sort of read like this with his processing, and it sounded like EV-99 from Return of the Jedi. And you're like, "Yes, that's EV-99.
Love it.
Yes."
That's tremendous.
So you've lived out your dreams then. There's no other
There's
characters
no
you want to
dream
play.
aside
He's done.
from-
It's done.
I want more EV-99. That guy is a jerk.
All right, probably one of our biggest Star Wars fans in here today.
Wow. one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, so my question's for Sam. So one of my favorite performances of yours is, it's really understated, and it's literally like a blink and you'll miss it, but you can't blink with ears. It's your cameo in Andor as the shore trooper that arrests Cassian.
So good.
I actually wanted to buy a figure just to have you sign it with "Tourists Don't Run," but that's another story. So when you took that role, was it like, did you bring any sort of like real life experience with actual like people that have had to like stop you and be like, "Sir, we're gonna have to ask you not to do that"? Is there any sort of like, specific story of an encounter with the man?
This is going to be the most anticlimactic answer ever, but it's also, I think, kind of great. Because he's talking about this elite troupe of actors that do these voices and stuff. My experience in that was, Okay, now we have the stormtrooper. Okay, blah blah. And here's the dialogue. And okay, who wants to try it? I'd like to try it. Oh, okay. And then you get a take or two to go through the scene. You just do it.
Yeah.
And you read it. And that's what it was.
And the stormtroopers are interesting because the original base of most stormtroopers are what you hear in New Hope, and that was those were radio DJs from the 1970s that happened to live in the San Francisco Bay Area that were called in by George Lucas.
These guys.
Because on the set there was British stunt folks and some expats and under there, but what's recorded under the set and the helmet is not really usable. And by the time we get to post-production, George has already changed the lines anyway. So we brought in all these radio DJs. I'm 5 years old. I did not work on that one, but those people came in. And I have the original tapes, and it's amazing stuff. But they all sound like that, you know.
They all sort of sound like this.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that we've discovered about stormtroopers is they never get beyond a 5 for excitement. Even if you're in the middle of a firefight, blast them. You know, they don't go,
stop that ship, blast them.
Stop that ship,
you know,
blast them. You know, they don't go, oh God, look out. You know, they're all just sort of soulless until they die. In which case they scream. Wilhelm screams. Ah! You know, it's the same with the battle droids. This guy did something in it. I think it happens twice in Clone Wars. And it's my favorite thing ever. Because he plays all the battle droids, who are, you know, relatives of the stormtroopers, thematically speaking. And the battle droids are all, Roger, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, Roger.
And all that stuff. But what's hilarious is on 2 or 3 occasions, something's about to happen. I'm thinking one where Anakin, I think, fires a proton torpedo, and it's arcing in toward the bridge of where these battle droids are stationed. And it's coming in, and it's going to hit they know they're going to die, and they're like, I'm getting a reading, there's something, oh my God! Oh my God, and then they explode.
Yeah. What are they going to say at the end of that line?
Which
I don't know if battle droids believe in God.
I just love that they find religion at the last moment of their life. And
I think it's God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's gone.
We did that in Rebels too, didn't we? Or no? Was it Rebels?
I think
so. Or no,
so.
Bad. I can't remember. One of them where they get smashed.
But you've done it at least 3 times, and it's just, which is hilarious because they're all programmed similarly.
Yeah.
So 3 battle droids have had a religious awakening at the last moment. But to answer your question about the stormtrooper thing, that might seem anticlimactic. That just okay, all right, we're going to do it, and we do it. And we were laughing when we did it, but we did it. You do it and you forget about it because you're moving so fast, right? Like, for example, there'd be a scene where, Darth Vader is dragging this woman through the street to try to draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi. We gotta really punch this up. Helen Sadler, could you please just punch this up a little bit?
Right.
Okay, rolling. And this woman's just shrieking and screaming because Helen is just shrieking and screaming, and suddenly the scene is elevated, right? And then we move on, and she forgets she did that because we were just going so fast.
And it's a surprise sometimes when we watch the shows, because I cast the shows and then those, and then I have my editorial team pick who they want, and then so when we get to the final project, sometimes I'm like, I can't remember who played half those things. So at one point we were going to make a little log sheet and have everybody's.
But that would be a lot of work.
It would be a lot of work.
So many of those characters. So what's fun and interesting about this is we get to be surprised again when we see the shows. But what I'm so proud of with this group is they're so quick and so fast. We are moving so fast, and they're so good that they get it in a take or 2, and we move on.
Right.
And it's in the show like that. So that's the fun of it. So the fact that everyone made a big deal about that stormtrooper, I'm like, oh, good, because that was. Because I remember reading going, this is hilarious. This is really funny and unfortunate for Andor. And now I get to be the guy who is indirectly responsible for the destruction of the Death Star because I radicalized Cassian Andor. So there you go.
Got a question right here in the front row. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, this is a question for Sam. Just wanted to know about the experience working on Clone Wars Season 8, the Mandalore arc, and working with Ashley Eckstein Season 7. Yeah. That's what he's here for.
Yeah.
It was a big surprise that we were going back to Clone Wars, and I thought that Dave wrote a tremendous script. And we had all been wondering what was going to happen. You know, we would ask him, like, you know, what happened in the Siege of Mandalore? And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. And it's like, well, what? Why? Tell us what. The show's done. We got canceled. What were we going to do for the finale? Well, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, okay, well, the wound is still there. Maybe he's, we're all sad about the cancellation. Then we get to Rebels, and Maul is calling Ahsoka Lady Tano because they've met. And I'm like, Dave? He's like, yeah. I'm like, my character seems to know some stuff. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, clearly they probably met during the Siege of Mandalore, right? And he's like, uh-huh. I'm like, so are you going to tell us what happened so I know how to play this scene, Dave? And I feel like, I gotcha. You got to give me the information. You have to, because my character would know. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, because I get it. Because I know, and your character knows, but you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, oh. But that was the first hint that we were going to go back, because I'm like, why is he keeping it secret? Why is he keeping it secret? And it seemed to me that that was a hope, but I didn't know if that hope was going to turn into anything. So the way I found out that we were doing the Siege of Mandalore is I laid a trap for him. Because I talked to someone else in Lucasfilm. They're like, I'm like, yeah, we're finishing up Rebels, I say we, they are. I would come in every now and then and do some stuff. And someone mentioned to me, they're like, there are weird budgetary line items that we're seeing under the Star Wars Rebels brand. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they budgeted out some episodes. I'm like, but we're done. We finished. They're like, yeah, I know, but we're seeing episodes budgeted out. I'm like, that's fishy. And then Dave and Ann, Dave's wife, invited me to go get lunch. So I was sitting down with Dave and Ann in Santa Rosa, and we're just chilling out. And I'm like, I'm gonna find out right now. I'm sick of this. Oh, you don't know, and I'm not gonna tell you. Yeah, watch this. Watch this. So I'm sitting there, and I have this really thick Cro-Magnon brow, so I can shield my eyes if I so choose. But also, while I shield my eyes, observe, I can see out the side. See? I can see you. You can't see that I can see you, but I can see you. And so Anne's sitting here, and Dave's sitting here. And so we have our food, and I say this. I go, man, it's just too bad that the Clone Wars just canceled before we got to finish it. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just go back and finish that show? And I bow my head respectfully. And while I'm bowing my head and said, wouldn't it be nice if we could go back and visit the show, I'm glancing at Anne. I'm looking right at Anne. And under my brow, this is what I see. I see Anne going like this. And I'm like, oh, we're going to come back. I can't believe this. So that was when I knew. And then he called us like a year later or something like that. So less than a year.
Wow. Front row, yes.
Yeah, so this question actually kind of ties in with the last one.
Oh.
Both of your characters, Maul and Grievous, met each other in the Son of Dathomir comic and had a big fight. And I was just wondering, have either of you read the comic, and what did you think of it?
I liked it. Did you read it?
Yeah, Mike's done.
Oh.
No sound for the sound guy.
It even says on a dead battery. It's great. This one talks to you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I looked at that actually. Was that came out before we did the Lego Star Wars, the funny one, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also, it was off of Clone Wars scripts that we were getting ready to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I love reading that stuff. I mean, the lore is great, and the fact that we know each other is pretty hilarious too. But we had a fun time working. We got to do a scene together on that holiday special, the Halloween one, which was hilarious. Grievous and Maul fighting over a sword or a saber.
They were trying to get their hands on.
It was like some kind of kyber crystal or something that was really like a planet killer.
And they were not happy with each other.
I love that.
Yeah. Grievous is interesting, right? Because I always thought, I remember the Layer of Grievous episode, which was so cool because we learned that he's basically a guy who's addicted to cosmetic surgery. You know what I mean? He's like, look, I know, I had this lift done with my eyebrows. It looks really good. I think I'm gonna do the cheeks next.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get a cleft chin. I'm gonna do this, and the next thing you know, he's just like unrecognizable because you see those statues of who he was. Like, he's a good-looking dude, you know.
He was.
Kalish warrior, and then the next statue, he's got robot arms. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Next statue, he's got a robot rib cage. You're like, what's going on? And you imagine that. What did you imagine? Do you think he was trying to measure up to a Jedi, or
he
what
had
was he
some
doing?
kind of he'd been betrayed, or that, in my mind, it was, yeah, he definitely had a bone to pick with them because of and he never quite could get the level that he wanted, especially with his armies too. They never quite did what he wanted, so he would just take it out on them and bust them all up. And
you played them too, so how did that feel, getting that abuse?
I got to yell at myself.
From yourself.
I would sometimes do it in the same take, which is fun. Yeah, those are great. You got the
We got time for one more question.
Yep.
Poor Lauren, she's got to be the one to make these decisions.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Thank you. Question for Sam. What's the workout routine, man? I see those biceps. We're all looking. Come on.
The workout routine.
Oh, well.
You lift, bro?
Yeah. You mean my sweet gains? Or, okay.
Was it 3 bags of Doritos we ate at lunch?
It
That
was
part
the
of the
3 bags of
routine.
Doritos.
Yeah.
I think we had the creamed spinach last night.
We did have cream spinach.
That was good. I wish I should. I'm getting old, dude. I'm glad we're talking about this because I've got to accept that I'm becoming feeble, and thank you for trying to make me feel like I'm still on top. But, you know, you can't stay on top. It's like Schwarzenegger said, you know. What did he say? He said, and then I think he also said, go! Get to the chopper, come on! He said that. There was this great thing. Have you ever seen Pumping Iron? Dude, of course you have. You're fucking swole. Schwarzenegger was like, there's this great moment where there's you know, all these bodybuilders hanging out, and Schwarzenegger, young Schwarzenegger, is just sitting there, and he's probably stoned or something, so it's just kind of like, sort of has a dreamy look on his face, but and they're out on the beach, and the wind is blowing their hair, right? And this guy's like, Arnold, you gotta take this Lou thing more seriously. Yeah. I mean, this guy, he's hungry. He's coming up. He's huge, Arnold. I've seen him. I've worked out with him. Yeah, Lou. Look out for Lou. Yeah. He's like, I'll tell you, Arnold. I know you're making a joke out of it. Am I? Yeah, no, but I gotta tell you, you know, where do you go from up? What do you mean? Where do you go from up? You know, because the wolf that is hungry is trying to get that food, right? He's trying to get that food. The wolf that's already ate, he's not trying. Yeah, but when he wants the food, it's there. But what I'm trying to say, Arnold, is that when you get to the top of the hill, where do you go from there? What do you do when you get to the top of the hill? Stay up. And this guy's like, oh, yeah, stay up. And then he just kind of passes out into like a stone slumber. You're like, stay up.
Love it.
When you get to the top of the hill, stay up. Do it. That's right. This guy knows. Right there.
Well, Matthew, what's your workout routine like?
You know, it's quite intense. I broke another microphone.
Oh,
no, I
there you
didn't.
go.
No.
The sound guy, wouldn't you know? It breaks.
No, there's no. I don't. I wish, but that is pretty impressive. Yeah. Battle droids, though, we kind of have to stay
lean.
trim. I can't. Yeah, lean. Gotta stay lean.
That's right.
Well,
Super battle droids, though, are hulked out.
yeah.
I play those too, but yeah, it's all computer magic.
You sure? Not some sweet gains in there anywhere?
No.
Okay, gotcha. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure here with these two gentlemen, Sam Witwer and Matthew Wood. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
And remember, all of this goes on again tomorrow. Not the same panels. Don't worry. I won't subject you all to this again. Well, actually, Sam, I'm going to subject you to a panel tomorrow. That's going to be at 2 o'clock. Aiden Waite Meet Star Killer is the name of that. I know, right? There's the panelist.
I want to go to that. Do you guys want to go to that? Yeah. Tomorrow at when? 2?
That'll be 2 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock. More Schwarzenegger impressions. More nonsense. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. Do it.
Nice. We have that at 12:15. Lenore Zahn and Allison Seeley Smith from X-Men will be back again. And at 1 o'clock, Peter Cullen. Yes. one-on-one, I'm sure a lot of questions there. 2:45, Adrian Huff, Roger Clark will be doing performance capture in video games, and we'll round things out at 3:45 with the 9th annual Children's Cosplay Contest. Thank you all so much for coming out. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Attention. 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 Attention.
Get ready, South Carolina. Meet your favorite comic book legends, pose with iconic characters, and dive into exclusive panels that will blow your mind. Join us at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center for 2 action-packed days. Whether you're a superhero or superfan, this is your convention. Boardwalk Comic-Con, where fandom comes alive. Surf's Up Comic-Con.